Here are 8 reasons why the founder of Fisher Investments would, I quote, die and go to hell before he would sell an annuity. Refuted.
I would die and go to hell before I would sell an annuity. Most annuities have nosebleed level fee.
Number 1, there's high fees. Now, most of the time here is probably going to be referring to variable annuities. However, 2 things here. Number 1, a fee is inherently not a bad thing. That just means that something costs money. For example, if you were going to leave money in a bank and they told you that they are going to credit you 5% interest on that money, but they gave you another option to credit you 7% interest, but you had to pay them 1, would you view that fee as a bad thing? Of course not. Now, fees can be a sign of dishonesty if they are hidden, but again, this is by no means all annuities. In fact, there are plenty, single premium immediate annuities, fixed index annuities, and more that have no fees at all.
Don't do what the customer thinks they do.
Second, they don't do what the customer expects them to do. They're actually very, very simple. If you tell a client, you are going to put this much money in, roll it in from a 401k, you're going to defer it for 5 years, for example, and then you are going to turn on this amount of income, and all of it is going to be taxed because you had this money in a pre-tax account like a 401k, and we guarantee that it's going to be this much income. Well, if you didn't guess it, that's exactly what it does. Again, of course, there is plenty of different types of them. If you are looking, let's say, a fixed index annuity for growth, you will have a floor of 0% with most indexes, and let's say you were linking to the S&P 500 with an 8% cap. All that means is that your money is going to track the performance of the S&P 500 with a 0% floor and an 8% cap. So if the S&P gets 10%, you only get 8. If the S&P gets minus 10, 20, 40, and you have a floor of 0%, then you get 0. There are other things that are outlined in the policy, such as surrender periods, such as withdrawal charges, but all of it is very clear.
Have tremendous tax problems.
Number 3, there's tax problems. Most 401ks and annuities, as I have kind of stated before, are a lot of the time being funded from 401ks and IRAs or already pre-tax accounts. Those accounts, you put money in before you're taxed. Later, you go to withdrawal after age 59 and a half, and then you have to pay full taxes on them, taxed as ordinary income. Annuities have the exact same rules. So if you have a problem with how annuities are taxed, well, then you also should have a problem with putting monies in 401ks and traditional IRAs. Of course, most people, for the most part, do not have a problem with that, and that's likely not what he's referring to. There are different taxation rules for example, Roth IRAs, if you're putting money in that is post-tax, if you're rolling over money with savings that is also post-tax. But again, the way that these are taxed are always outlined very, very clearly and not that difficult to work around, especially if you are trying to incorporate this in with other vehicles in retirement.
Are hard to get out of once you're in them.
Number 4, they're illiquid. They can be hard to get out of. Hopefully, if you are getting into an annuity, you understand, because there are suitability guidelines that you have to go through to make sure that you would have enough liquidity, that this product is being sold in your best interest. And let's say you had a $500,000 nest egg and $250,000 you were thinking about putting into an annuity, and you were going to defer it out for 5 years and then turn on the income stream. Well, the idea is that you're going to put it there, you're not going to touch it, you're going to let it grow. 5 years from now, then you're going to start taking income. It's going to be there for the rest of your life. If you are planning on diving into the principal there, you probably shouldn't be considering an annuity in the first place. So he does have a point here when saying the money does get locked up. However, if this is a concern for you, then you probably shouldn't be looking at annuities in the first place.
And are extremely confusing with a contract that's about that thick.
Number 5, they're extremely confusing. We went over this. It's just not the case. And if you've ever tried rolling, let's say, an old 401k into an IRA or anything of that sort, there's probably tons of paperwork you had to go through as well.
These products are not made to benefit the customer.
Number 6, they are not made to benefit the customer. Time and time and time again, studies show that the number 1 retirement fear that retirees have is running out of money. The annuity, just like a pension, is designed to help you to never run out of money. Of course, there are trade-offs. Of course, there are areas where you could potentially get a higher return than that. But they certainly have their purpose. And when coupled with other strategies, for example, a recent study from Ernst & Young has showed in situation after situation after situation that this can greatly increase the amount of income that you can have in retirement. And again, when coupled with other strategies, also the amount in your nest egg or the amount that you would pass on.
The real winner is the salesperson.
Number 7, commissions are very high. The real winner is the salesperson. Do people get paid for selling annuities? Absolutely. However, you get paid on a one-time upfront commission. At least with most companies, you do not receive a recurring fee every single year that grows with the balance. Like if you had a financial advisor that had a 1 to 1.5% fee, if you had $100,000, they will take that fee for the next 30, 40, 50 years and continue to do that, and that grows as the amount in your account grows. When you compare this side by side, by a one-time upfront fee with the annuity, yes, it looks much bigger in the front end. However, in the long term, the AUM is actually a much larger fee.
Anything you want to do with annuities, there's a better way to do.
Number 8, there's always a better way to do it. Flat out, again, just not true. Why do so many retirees absolutely love their pensions? They live by them, they die by them. Why is the number one fear for retirees running out of money? Annuities, a lot of the times, can solve this problem. Now, it's worth noting there are a lot of cases where annuities do not make sense. This is why you always need to run the numbers, make sure that you are getting into the right product with the right company, and ultimately know why you are getting into a product. As Fisher Investments has pointed out, there are different kinds of annuities. Some of these do have high fees, as we mentioned. Some of them do have lockup periods. You want to make sure that all of these things make sense for you. If you're within 10 years of retirement in the US, there's so many different things you could focus on, but you don't know what to zero in on. Subscribe or release videos for you twice a week on how to do that peacefully. Bye-bye.